Welcome to the Fermented Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Anna, and on this channel, I'm sharing our journey of learning how to turn our home into a homestead. Today, I am fermenting some jalapenos. Fermented jalapenos are probably one of the easier things that there is to ferment, and it gives you such a great return. If you are into heat, you like things really hot, then fermenting peppers in any way is definitely what you want to do. And I mean, even if you're not like a superhuman huge fan of, fermenting or super heat stuff, you can still have these. You just wouldn't have as many. But it's the easiest thing ever. So I'm just going to show you really quick. There's not much to it. So all I do is I just cut the tops off, and there's a garbage can there. And there are many different ways that you can process this. You can leave them in large chunks if you want to make some kind of a hot sauce out of it, or you can cut them up into like little dimes like I'm doing. I wouldn't recommend cutting them too small because it's very difficult to keep them from actually being exposed to the air, because so if you cut them too small, it's going to escape whatever kind of cage you put around it. So I like to just cut them in the dimes. You can de-seed them if you don't like them to be super hot. I am one of those people that's just the more heat the merrier. If you have gloves, totally wear gloves. Like, this is definitely something that is worth like going to the store and buying gloves for, but not for me because I don't want to. And so all I'm going to do with these is I'm going to try my best not to touch them, but inevitably I'm going to. Don't touch your eyes, all the usual stuff. It will burn. Put it aside. Wear gloves if you have them. If not, just do this. One way that you can kind of at least somewhat mitigate the possibility of getting like it all over your hands is just kind of what I'm doing. Like, I'm not going to touch them until I'm done. And I'm just going to cut them and move them with my knife and just hold them by the tip that I have not cut. And that seems to help. I have done this, and I'm no expert by any means, but I have done this a lot and kind of figured out a way that I like to do it. Because for some reason, in all of the number of times that I have done this, I have not gone to the store to buy disposable gloves. And you can cut these rounds kind of as big or as small as you like. It really just depends on what you like, and you want to make sure that whatever you do, they're fairly consistent. If you want them to have a consistent texture, make sure that they're a consistent thickness, because if you make some really big and fat and some really skinny, like, the skinny ones obviously are going to ferment and get mushy before the really big ones have actually had a chance to ferment. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. They're not going to be bad, but they're just going to, if you have texture issues like I do, you kind of just want to at least try and make sure they're similar. We got these all chopped up, and now what I'm going to try and do, since I don't have the gloves, I'm going to try and be a wimp and get these in the jar without touching them. This is one of few things that I can get my husband to actually consume that is fermented. He loves fermented jalapenos. Like, anytime we go out to like a restaurant or anything, which is pretty rare, but anytime we actually do, like, he'll bring a jar of this with him so he can add it to whatever he manages to order while we're there. And just like until it's gone, like it's in every meal. Until it's gone, or until like one gets lost, and then we find it like a couple months later and we're just like, oh, yay, mine. I need a fighter jar. So now I'm just gonna put them in here. This one it has a little bit more space to it, and Maybe it has more space to it. And I just like these better for fermenting. They're easier to ferment with. Maybe I should have grabbed a bigger Fido. Shoot. So anyways, what I really like about the Fido jars is that it doesn't let the oxygen in, it doesn't let the oxygen in, but it lets it out, and it pushes all the carbon dioxide out as well. But it still keeps a fair amount of pressure, so you do have to be cautious. One of those things that's not recommended by the manufacturer, so it's kind of one of those like rebel cooking things where you just have to do your research and decide what you're comfortable doing. And I am comfortable with fermenting in Fido jars, so I do. Not all the time. Honestly, if I had more of these pickle pipe things, I'd probably use those more often, but sometimes the Fido jars are just nice. Brine time. I just realized that I forgot to add any garlic to the fermented jalapenos, so that's what I'm doing now. I'm just getting some like 5 cloves of garlic all chopped up, and then thankfully I noticed before I added the brine in. So we're just gonna get this wrapped up here real quick. So I'm not gonna dump all of it out. I'm just gonna dump most of it out. And then just throw a couple in here, and then just back in here. And you can totally squish them down. They retain their shape pretty much just fine. Okay. So that took pretty much a pint almost exactly. All right, so now all I'm gonna do is I'm going to try and cover this thing up with a bit of a top, just to kind of give it the best chance, I guess. I've never had a need to cover anything in a Fido jar. I've never had anything go bad in a Fido jar. But these are jalapenos we're talking about here. We gotta make sure. It should be fine. It is. Let's make sure it's fine, because I want to eat them. So now all I'm going to do is just get all of these seeds that are floaters. I hate to toss them, but it's better than risking mold. So this one is filled pretty full. So I have to be really careful with this one, and I'm gonna make sure, not that I would otherwise, but I'm gonna make sure that I put a dish underneath it. 13 by 9 glass baking dishes are perfect. This one is just one, so I'm probably just gonna use the smaller one, like maybe one of the square ones or something like that. So we're just gonna leave this to go. If history is any indicator, I'm probably gonna let these go for about a month, I would say. I'll start checking on them, I'll check on them, but I'll start actively checking on them probably around the 2-week mark, but really it's probably going to be about a month. We like them really, really fermented. The longer you leave them for, with jalapenos and stuff, yes, they do get a little bit more sour, a little bit more fermented flavor, but not really. It's mostly the heat that gets amplified when you let them go longer. So that is why I like to let them go longer, because you're just getting the most bang for your buck, and you're getting this amazing, like, just Oh, it's so good. It's so much better than a raw jalapeno. It's so much better than a pickled jalapeno. Like nothing beats just everything about fermented peppers. They're amazing. So I will bring you back in probably about a month and I will show you what we have. So set this to ferment. Oh, also make sure that you cover it with a cloth, a thickly woven cloth, like a bar towel or something like that. You don't want muslin cloth. I mean, you could do muslin cloth, but the more light that penetrates it, the more you're going to, it's just going to affect the flavor of it. It's going to affect the taste, the color, the everything. So you just want to make sure you're covering them up and putting them inside of a dish to collect any water. So I wanted to go ahead and give you a bit of an update on the fermented jalapenos. You can see here they're fermenting just fine. The color has definitely faded quite a bit. You can see there's little bubbles and spots all over the place in here. And it's just doing what it's supposed to be doing. I mean, you can see here in the top, there's a bunch of seeds that are kind of floating around on the top here. Let's open this up here, pop it real quick. So you could hear that. Pretty neat, huh? So we can leave it as is and just close it back up and leave it be. But I think I'm going to take the kind of slightly safer route, and I'm going to go ahead and try and skim off most of the stuff that's on the top here. So for this part of it, I mean, really all you do is you just have a clean utensil and you just skim the top. That's all you do. You just get all the seeds or whatever you might be dealing with off the top. Just get all the particles off the top. Anything you leave behind, less chance of it if you're using a Fido style jar or if you have one of these pickle lid things, but anything you're doing, if you're fermenting it, there's a chance for it to mold if there is something that is getting oxygen. So you get everything off that is getting oxygen and it won't mold. I'm not going to be able to get all of it, but that's why I like to use the Fido style jars, because I don't have to be quite as cautious as I would otherwise. Same thing with these pickle pipe things. Similar results. So I'm just going to put this back in its home and let these go for a little while longer, and we'll see you when I see you. All right, so today we're gonna go ahead and we are gonna try out our fermented jalapenos. It has been 7 weeks since we set this to ferment, and you can see inside here all of the activity has gone away from it. It's just kind of chilling there and ripening and getting more and more heat as time goes on. So it's time to test this. Let's see if we can get a pop on it, okay? I'm afraid to do it here. See, there's even still a pop on there. So it's still going, it's still doing its thing ever so slightly. It has been probably, I want to say like 3 weeks since I've actually opened this up to check on it. I very frequently, I had it just kind of in here. Let me show you what my setup here. I had it just kind of like this with another ferment that was in there. And both of them, I would just lift up the towel probably every other day and look at it. Because once it gets past a certain point, like, you know, if it hasn't molded, you're probably pretty safe with it not molding. But I still like to check it just to make sure that anything didn't float to the top unexpectedly and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So just checking for safety. And then, so what we're going to do here is we're going to pull out the weight, put it on my clean plate down here. And we're going to try one of these bad boys. Woo! Ha ha ha! Never had a jalapeno with that much heat. Oh, I love it. Oh my goodness. Okay, I need another one. And this has been setting for 7 weeks. I've never actually let the jalapenos go this long. It's so worth it. Wow. That one wasn't as much heat. I don't know what it was with that first one, but woo! Okay. So, let me get my composure for a second here. Okay. So, we are going to go ahead and I'm going to try this out. I know that this is like, I would be completely shocked if this didn't go underneath the pH scale here. But we're going to test this one just for peace of mind here. And I showed you these, I showed you these strips in the onion video. And I'm just going to show them to you again in case you missed that one. These are pH strips. And the reason that I bought them was so that I could show you guys basically the pH level of the brine that we have inside of here. If it's under a 4.0 pH level, botulism cannot survive. So basically, when you're fermenting, you want to get it to under a 4.0 pH level as quickly as possible so that nothing can form in there. And then beyond that, it's just a matter of flavor, and it's intensifying the flavors, and it is, especially with this one, it's intensifying the heat. So we're going to dip this into the brine here. You want to dip it in for 2 seconds. It says 1 to 2 seconds. And we're going to pull it out. I'm going to show you on here, we have the pH scale. This one here is 4.4. So if it doesn't change color at all, we don't want to consume it. And then 4.0 or lower is what we're aiming for. And this one here, I would say this one again, I'd say probably more like 3.6. So it might be like 3.4 to 3.6, somewhere in that range. So this ferment, I probably should have checked that before, but I knew it was fine. I've never had an issue with it. So I'm not really worried about it. I'm just kind of doing it so you guys can kind of see the idea behind the safety, the food safety of fermented foods. Because I know there's quite a few people out there who are a little bit concerned, a little bit apprehensive about starting it. And so one way that you can ease yourself a little bit is to get these pH strips. They're about 8 cents a piece. I'm sure you could find them at a better deal online. I like to support my local shops. So I got this at the local brew shop that I have here in town. They have lots of fermented tools and things like that at the local brew shop. So I like to support them when I can. And so that's why I got that there. So anyways, I just wanted to show you that so you guys can have some peace of mind if you're a little bit unsure about fermented foods, and give you a good way to start it in a way that you guys might find to be very safe. And you can do the research on it, the pH levels and all that kind of stuff of fermented foods. Have at the research if you wish. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and we will see you in the next video for more fermenting fun. So thanks for watching. Bye.